Hello. Hello. Once again, it's Hugo Mlkkuh, and I am wise. Erica Wise the Renaissance is my moniker because I've been heavily plagiarized over the course of the last 2 to 3 years by the very people I'm going to be discussing today. I apologize for the last live stream not coming through. I apologize for the last live stream not coming through. And that was not my intention to not have the audio recorded. I'm trying to make sure that it's on now because I'm not one to really go live often. So, having said that, let me see. I'm going to ask you all in a minute, once I see some people come back, whether or not you can hear me. Okay. So today we're looking at not being silenced anymore by systems of oppression that are systemically designed and take away from our value add to the overall global community as sovereign citizens. There is a permeating underground dark web type movement of human sacrifice. Human sacrifice, unbeknownst to a lot of people, has never ended. It just evolved. And what used to be ritualistic bloodshed for the gods is now digitized. And algorithmically, it's concealed and oftentimes state protected. In places like Puerto Rico, indigenous brilliant minds are being hunted through covert technologies, false surveillance, and surveillance warfare. Hi, can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Key song 15. Let me know if you can hear me. I just want to make sure everyone's able to hear. Okay, great. Thank you. The last upload we had, I was not aware that the mic was not on. And so, although I had a lot to say, none of it got to you all. But it was a good practice round for me. So, today, Key Song 15, I think that's what it says. In places like Puerto Rico, indigenous brilliant people are being hunted through covert technologies, false surveillances, and spiritual surveillance warfare. I'm speaking about a coordinated system, people, and it involves real people who are the victims, survivors, real estate agents, car dealerships, law enforcement, mayoral offices, and even the FBI has involvement in these structures. And I'm not speaking from a scholarly point of view, I'm speaking very much from an experience. And so when these structures evolve with the advancement of technology, they could be utilized inappropriately and falsely identify people who they hope to isolate and erase. And these are usually people who carry a certain spiritual, cultural cadence about themselves, and even in some cases, political honor. And what I've noticed in my time in living in places that have a heavy footprint of colonization is that this is not just a crime, it's physical and spiritual warfare. Colonizers throughout our history have always, hi everyone, thanks for being here. Orange Cat, Happy Cat, thanks for being here, everyone. Colonizers have always sought to dominate through division, through splitting up families, through destroying the matriarch and the matriarchal memory of things, by rewriting the identity through a forced dependency. And I say that because there's systems that can be utilized through biotechnology that can erase your memory and make you be dependent on a system of enslavement that is labeled as a helper. This is going on in 2025 in places like Puerto Rico. What I saw in Puerto Rico, especially in towns like Catalina and Utuado, is a pattern of neglectful government. I saw psychological coercion. I saw isolation from families. I witnessed destruction of memory attempts. And these are not isolated acts. They were advanced biotechnological patterns of pathology that are rooted in hate crime logic. And so I'm not one to just present an issue without looking for what it's doing to me in my subconscious, can I do to address it in my conscious state, prepare for it in my unconscious state, and address it with some type of solution. But in these days and times, I've realized that the solution bearer is not always the one who finishes first. So what do these shadow systems look like in practice? They use local real estate scams to monitor and dispose of people. Law enforcement is weaponized to falsely hospitalize and detain people. They ignore and accept money through racketeering. These advanced technologies that we're dealing with, like AI and things of that nature today, provide the average person with any type of access. It's a limited reach to get the access to perform illegal digital surveillance. And community peons, shadow governments will put these people in place with a lack of enforcement skills, and they've given these people advanced access to technologies that include things from biometric tracking to neuro weaponry. And the person who is quietly building their empire as an activist or a community leader, indigenous women, lesbian leaders, and some of the most silenced people in our population, they target those people to keep that slush money, hush money, racketeering money going smoothly by wanting to have us mentally break down through forced digital appearances on things like the dark web and disappearing in plain sight, I like to say, by hacking our devices to keep us separated from family and loved ones. They create non-credible narratives that are often linked to the chain of stereotypical thought that spiral to spiritual warfare. And no one's hands are there to catch the broken pieces of a U.S. system that fails to intervene when femicide is screamed on mountaintops and sought after peace is denied. And why? Why, people? Anybody know why? It's because this domestic terrorism is usually state endorsed. With femicide rates being so high and through the roof, anti-lesbian crimes go under or unreported and are never dealt with. I believe from my experience that there are certain places in the Union of America and across the globe that use certain zones as experimental playgrounds where the disenfranchised, who are either whistleblowers or victims who have survived, they use these people as experimental objects, not seeing the soul of these people. And they never knew the courage we would have in surviving such torture to speak. When you've been falsely labeled but never really accused outright, but only mentally through biotechnology and paperwork pushing, it breaks our stability. And this is their hope, to break our stability. Even though when we cry out to our leaders, they may ignore us, it brings us to the conclusion of the consciousness being beyond systemic failure. It is utter systemic participation. And so today I leave you with those thoughts because I don't have all the answers, as I like to say. And sometimes our unconscious mind just needs to free ourselves of the weight of other people's projections so that we have room to build the things that we were building. And I thank you for listening, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you.